Hey.
Hey.
Welcome. Talks and Tonics, straight talk with Jason, a modern guy just navigating life, health, and business in Canada. And today is episode number 2. And this is with Anna Ahmed. Anna. And we met Anna.
Definitely.
Anna. A couple weeks ago at a charity event by a mutual friend. And she let me in on her little project business. And what is it? It's a project of passion, or
Definitely a project for passion.
project of passion.
Of passion. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's called HITCHYYC.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit about HITCHYYC.
Okay. Do you want me to tell you how it began or what it is about?
Well,
I guess.
let's start off with what is it about?
Okay.
If your elevator pitch to me.
Okay. So HITCHYYC, I'm going to kind of tell you both. It was started because I entered the dating world, the modern dating world. And I noticed that, and from my perspective, it was men needed some elevating. They needed improvements in the dating world, whether it be the way that they took pictures of themselves, to texting, to having chats, to asking out people on a date, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I started it elevating men and going shopping and just having kind of like, in a sense, therapy sessions.
Okay.
Right? Some people have been through trauma and they want to talk.
Okay.
And I've experienced life in being married and all that kind of stuff for many years. So I've experienced, and then getting separated.
Okay. So
I've experienced all the things. And some people just need to know that there's people out there that have experienced those things.
Okay.
So then I started the events, and because it's hard to get people or men to want to make changes.
Okay.
Especially from someone, you know what I mean? Just someone telling them they need to make a change, right?
Okay.
So then I started the events, and the events I found I could collect high-level singles.
Okay.
I could create a good experience. And a unique experience, something different from what's in Calgary currently. And not diminishing anything that's happening in Calgary, but as far as the singles events and things like that, from my experience, there just wasn't much available.
So let me capture that. It's basically geared towards men to elevate their dating stuff.
Yeah, but now it's kind of evolved into both. Like, I know that everybody needs to work on themselves, and yes, elevator pitch. That's not what it was.
That wasn't it. Okay. So
essentially, I'm trying to improve the dating world. I'm trying to bring back organic connection, and in that, I'm trying to help people navigate through their dating experiences in a healthy, self-reflective way.
Okay, so hence the Hitch, which is like after the movie.
Yes.
Will Smith.
Yes.
I had to watch it. I had to watch it last week again.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I loved it.
It's a good. I can watch it all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Remember the 3 rules of dating in that one?
I don't. What is it?
I don't remember either.
Oh.
I don't remember.
Oh my gosh, I should know that. Hey.
But yeah. But anyways, it's funny that we had that conversation at the stand event.
Yeah.
Right. And at the same time, I am recently divorced as well.
Right.
Entered into the dating scene, and was excited to try all the apps.
Yes.
Right. So tried the apps.
At first, it is excitement.
Pardon me.
At first, it's
excitement. Exactly.
Yeah,
right. And then you start meeting just pretty much the same people over and over again.
Totally.
Right? And the easiest way to explain it is I just kept attracting the same person that I separated from and I divorced.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was just running into the same issues. So I was like, okay, I've got to stop. I've got to work on myself and figure out exactly, why do I keep attracting these people?
Yes.
And
but a lot of people don't do that though.
Yes. Yeah. I know. So that's why I took a break from it. I was like, okay, that's it. Yeah. Let me figure this out. But it is, I knew what the apps were for.
Yeah.
It's casual dating. It's casual hookups. It's for,
Yeah.
like, hey, you know what? I
have met, to be fair though, I've met but then nothing is stuck. So maybe that whole theory could be out the door. But I've been on there looking for something. A lot of people that I have met have been looking for something. But then it's I'm not, and I can't even pinpoint what this is. Okay. But it's the people that are okay. So finish your thing, because I just experienced a little something, and you can call it research. You can call it also like me being lonely and going back on apps.
Yeah. Well, I find the whole dating, with modern dating and modern meeting people, interesting, because I'm finding people like you and people like myself that have done all the things, got married, have kids, and after the pandemic, there's a lot of separations. Yeah. Like I'm in the business of aesthetics. Right. So my business in helping people look better when they got out of the relationships just boomed after. Totally. Right. Yeah. So that's what we did, and but what I noticed, when with the it's just the same thing over and over again when you're using these apps. So I think when you said, hey, I'm going to link it with events, and I'm going to link it with some coaching. Yep. Right. Like, is it just the guys that are getting coaching, or the ladies are getting coaching as well?
As much as men need it, the women need it.
Women need it. Okay. Yeah. Good. Because that's what I was wondering. I was like, okay, you're coaching guys only to, right. Women don't know how to re-enter the dating scene too after this. Yes. Right. So
what is your thing from the men's perspective?
Yeah.
What is the trending single woman's pattern that you're noticing, that you've experienced?
Women's trending single pattern. Okay. Well, out of the people that I've met on apps, let's see, 2 of them were widowed. Okay. 2 of them were divorced. And it was the pattern was they're looking for somebody that was like their ex, right? But not their ex. Right. Right. So when it came to finances, they were looking for somebody that could keep up with what their ex was doing.
Right away?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. And then, and it was funny if you actually find who was in the, which stage they were in their separation and their divorce. There was always this whole piece of, he owes me a whole bunch of money, blah, blah, blah. We have all these properties. And, like, okay, well, you know what? I don't really care about that. Let's hang out. Like, let's do this stuff, right?
Get to know each other.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, no, like I have my story too, but I'm not going to download it on you. Yeah. And that's who I was finding out.
So they're looking for like a replacement.
Yeah, replacement. Yeah. Right. So I was just like, okay, no, I don't. And then it just got worse as I went down the dating path in the apps. Now full disclosure, Tinder I met 2, and then Hinge I met 2. Right.
And then I connected with.
Okay. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? I don't need this app to meet people. I love meeting people. I can sit at a bar or sit wherever I'm doing. Totally. And start up a conversation and get a phone number. Yeah.
But not a lot of people can do that.
Yes.
Yeah. Not a lot of people can go somewhere by themselves, period.
But that's, that was me. That was like, I used to travel a lot for work, and, you'd hang out and, people would talk to you. Right?
Totally. Yeah. So, but if you have that energy though,
that's true.
Like if you give off that, because I've been around people like that just don't give, like they give off this energy, right? But for me, I go into a place and I'm like, okay, whatever. Exactly. But I also learned from one of my girlfriends, like that I can be friends with like many men or have many kind of interactions with men and it not mean that I'm going to have to sleep with them, or if there's a commitment, or you know what I mean, something at the end of it, right? Yeah. So now I'm a little bit more open too, right? Just with my experiences.
So you're off the apps now?
I'm off the. So I hadn't been on the apps for like a year and a half. Okay. Because I'm also starting this business and I'm trying to like promote that, right? Organic thing. But then in that, I'm not like, as everybody asks, like, are you looking for yourself? Yeah. And I'm just like, or like, did you find someone at your event? And I'm like, well, no, that's not what That's not what the events are for. It's not for me.
Yeah.
So I look at it as it's a business, but then I'm so passionate about it for other people, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I kind of like felt, I'm like, things just ended with a guy not too long ago.
Okay.
And so then I'm all about like healing and stuff like that. And so I was trying to do that. And you feel, and this is what I noticed too, is that people like, they get out of something, they jump into something, and then they get out of it, and then they jump into something else, like right away, just to fill that void. And I'm guilty of it
chronic,
too.
nobody can be, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No.
So then anyway, so that was kind of my distraction with it all.
Okay.
And I went on the apps, and so what, I mean, the problem, I guess the one thing I shouldn't do is like, voice, or not voice, but just let them know that I'm doing this business, but I don't want to seem sneaky.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I'm just being honest, because this is like a passion of mine, right? And so this is like them getting to know me also. But then when they heard this, it's almost like there's like an instant like pressure, right? And so I'm like, no, I'm and then there's also they're also skeptical.
Yeah.
Right? Because then they think I'm just like recruiting or something, which is not the case, right? I'm actually looking for something solid.
So how are you recruiting?
So me recruited, so I go to events. I go to a lot of events. Okay. I've got a lot of like high level friends, and they'll invite me to events, or they'll invite me to like into their friend group, or they're even just like out. I met one of my good close friends. I met her at the gym. Yeah. And she's just like, she's like kind of that fit that dynamic, like, or the demographic, sorry.
Yeah.
Where, she's like, 40 something, whatever. And she's gorgeous, and she takes care of herself. Yeah. Because that's like one of my criteria, right? Like I take care of myself, and I eat healthy, I work out regularly, and I want that from my guy. Mm-hmm. Like I want the same thing, or like similar. I'm not looking for this, this impossible thing, but just something that levels up to me, right? Okay. Yep. Anyways, so I met her at the gym, and I just know, like I just get a vibe. And this is everybody, like I said, I've said this many times, but like people ask like how do you vet these people or whatever, but it is just me getting like a vibe. Yeah. I get that. Like I sense energy. I'm like super sensitive to it. And I don't really waste for myself. I don't waste my time on people that are just mediocre, or that are not like leveled up, or they're not even self-reflective, like things like that. So I don't do that for myself. And so I'm not going to do it for, I'm not just going to find whoever for other people. It's who I surround myself with.
Absolutely.
So at my birthday party, which you should have come to, it was so fun.
Well, I didn't meet you before your birthday party. So,
but you met me the next day.
I met you the next day. You were so tired.
I would have invited you if I met you a few days before.
Thank you.
But it was just like a mixed bag of people. Yeah. And just all so different from one another, but all cool. Yeah. And they all left that party. Like a lot of people were like, oh my God, I haven't had that much fun in so long. And all I did was gather them into one room. So
these people you gathered for your birthday party, were they people that you met over the...
Yeah, like some people,
over
like
your journey over the last year.
Yeah, well, over the last 4
people?
years.
Okay,
right?
All right, cool.
So like even at my very first event, and this is what happens at all the events. But they're all like, so how do you know Anna? Yeah. And it's all these like ways, like these very just cute little ways, or weird, or me being like stalky, like with Megan, I was stalky. But because I get a good vibe from her, and she's high level, and like that kind of stuff, right? So that's what I'm just naturally attracted to, or drawn to.
So you're planning a new event. When's the next event?
Oh yes. So
that one I will make sure I can attend.
So I've collected enough interesting people to create an interesting experience. And what I've been wanting to, I guess, stay away from with my events is that I could easily make the same event, like, and now, but every time it's like I complete something, or I like accomplish a successful event, I'm like, okay, so I just like, I want to level it up. And not even like, I'm not diminishing that, the last one was not great or whatever, it is, but I just want a different experience every time. And like a cool experience. So this next event will be centered around the 5 senses, and I want it to be like a sensory experience, and it'll be submersive. And
I'm thinking like 5 cents meals, like
no, just like, and I don't even know what it looks like just yet. I'm talking to a lot of people, like my photography friends, my artists, my things like that, because I want, and I've said this to them, because I don't know just yet what it's going to look like. But I stop and smell the roses, right? So I also I also see a sunset and like, like it takes my breath away.
Yeah.
So that is the experience that I want for people to experience when they come.
Okay. And I think I was listening to your last podcast. That was your first podcast you ever
That
did.
was my first
This
one,
is your second one.
Yeah.
Welcome. This is my second podcast too. And you were talking about, smelling the roses on a hike with one of these relationships that you went that you're in recently. And, they were an A to B person.
Totally.
Do the hike, get the hike completed.
Yeah, it wasn't
Meanwhile,
a hike, it was a walk.
It was a walk?
Okay. I wanted to listen to the Christmas music in the parking lot.
There you go.
And he's like, right?
And you're taking pictures the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what I do. I think, just kind of, enjoy the journey.
Totally.
Right? And it's not always about the destination.
That's right.
Right.
There's so many people that don't live that way. So what I'm trying to get everybody, because like even at my events, there are people that are very like, they don't look at life like that.
Yeah.
But at the very least, they're open-minded to even have an experience like that, or just be like, oh, I've never even thought about it.
So if it's not an app that you have, like or traditional, which is this is why this topic interests me, because do you know how much the dating app industry is worth?
I don't, but I know it's a lot.
$5.3 billion.
Right.
So, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur as well.
Right.
And when you're talking about that and me knowing how the dating scene is here in Calgary, and how I'm part of these different social groups and these different communities, and one of the most popular pieces of all those social groups are the singles.
Yeah.
Right. Because everybody's just trying to meet people. And then I said, well, I've hosted speed dating events before, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, why are you single? I was like, because I actually enjoy being single right now.
Right.
Right. And they're like, well, but I will be a wingman.
Yeah.
Right? So
oh, that's
in my sense, this is
fun.
what I think I'm trying. I think what you're trying to be is you're trying to be the wingman person.
Right.
As well.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yes,
you're a wing woman. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's 2024. Let's use the right terms.
Offended.
Yeah, exactly. The wing person. The wing person.
It's neutral.
Right? Yes. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit. I'm understanding this a little bit more now. Why I mentioned it's a $5.3 billion industry, the app industry. Now, how do you think? And then I think I sent you a link to an event that was happening here in Calgary.
Yeah.
Right. It was an event. They had an app with it, and it was. I think they did in Calgary, and I think they did Seattle or something in different cities.
Yeah.
Right? And is that and I told you to look at it. Is that kind of what you're looking at, or like where's your headspace at with? How are you going to monetize this? Is a thing.
Right.
Like Hitch, like Will Smith, his character.
Yeah.
Like Hitch charged money.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you doing this just because you want to have
fun?
Want to meet your person through this recruitment?
No. And I mean, I'm open to anything, obviously, right, in life. But this is the hardest part. Right, is the monetizing and just kind of. So I am doing like the lifestyle coaching, right, and so I kind of want to offer some type of like package system, and this is what I am currently working on, and I've tried a couple things, and some things have worked, and some like just the big picture, that is not what I have concrete.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But I thought about like an online community, creating like micro events, right, and having kind of like a subscription, because it's the people that that sets me apart from a lot of the other things. And knowing that, I know this because I'm in the dating world, right? Currently.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So there aren't a lot of places or events that I go to where I find someone that I'm interested in. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, and I consider myself a high level single.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So. What I'm looking for is not impossible, but a lot of the time, like, so this is funny because like a lot of people that I've met, even so like the last little bit, I can connect so deeply on many levels, right? Like with a lot of people, but not a lot of people have those same connections as much as I do.
Yes.
So when they connect with me, they think it's like fireworks, like explosions, right? But I'm like, oh, just so you know,
Yeah.
I do have these connections with other people. So when this comes along, it's just kind of normal to me. So I guess maybe, and someone asked me, because there was a guy just recently that I met on the app, and we connected, and he was so cool. It's just there was something physically, I guess, I don't know, I didn't want to jump on him.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of that, and I'm aware that things can grow into into something. But for me, like, initial is it wasn't there.
Yes.
And so I don't know if that is just because as I connect with so many people, the level just becomes a little bit higher, or the bar, or I don't, you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, you probably have, I was, I give this example of someone that when I was married, we were working with someone who was in her, like, she had just turned 40.
Okay.
Right. And she'd been single all her life, and she's like, but she was very direct, and she knew what she wanted at 40.
Right.
Right. So that made it a huge barrier for her to find the ideal person for herself. Right. Because now she has these two definitive lines.
Yeah.
Right. At 40. Yeah. Right. When you're in your 20s, you have your boundaries are like this. Right. So you're like, woo. But now she's 40. She's like, okay. So now she's, she knows that she's not going to have kids. So she's, she's now, looking for
make it right.
looking to make it right.
Yeah.
So, I think that I think anyways, personally, that it's it's an age thing as well.
Yeah. I don't want to waste any time too.
Exactly. Right?
So I'm not going to waste, if I don't want to jump on you now, which, in the past, like, because I've had a few connections, like in the many men that I've met or, dated or went on a date with, I've had 4 or 5 connections. Yeah. And every time it's like, I'm like, I meet them and I'm like, that's what I want.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when I don't feel that, I'm not going to wait like 3 months just to follow. And I don't know if this is the right answer either. Like, I'm trying to tell people, but then I'm like, also a lot of people are in this demographic, in this space. And for me, I'm like, I don't want to waste too much time. But then every, because this guy said that it was like a waste of time, but he had a great time. And so in that, it tells me that he's not my person. Yeah. Because for me, I go through life, every single thing that happens, whatever experience it is, it's like happening for a reason. Even if it's even if we're sitting on our asses, right, and not doing anything, it's still something that it's like, I'm experiencing, I'm learning this person.
So blatantly, he said his time with you was a waste of time?
Because I had told him that I didn't want to, that's not how I was feeling.
Well, like, don't women like honesty then? Like, he answered,
don't men want honesty?
Yeah, but I asked him. So he answered you honestly then? Because he, like,
totally. Yeah. I know. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. But also that just like confirms, like, this isn't.
It wasn't for you. Like, he wasn't for you.
Because it shouldn't be looked like, even just something like that. Like, if you looked at this as a waste of time, I think you had a good time. I had a good time.
Exactly.
I don't regret meeting. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was an experience. Okay. And that's, I told the little Montreal story in the last podcast. So, when I met some guy and we went away, but it was. I
didn't get that far in the podcast.
Oh, I know. That's like, I'm like my daughter. She's like, I didn't finish the last. I'm like, I know. I didn't either. Yeah. But it's all about, like, for me, I want, like, open-mindedness is something that I want. And even if it's just going for a walk and, like, just being thankful that you got that experience, that's my guy.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? That's how I live.
And it's, everybody's time, like, you're a single mom. Yeah. Right. I'm a single dad. Like, everybody's time is very valuable.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
So dating in our demographic is, okay, if you're going to put the time in, let's if you're going to put the time in, let's make sure that, we both walk away with it. Both walk away with something from it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Either hey, you know what? Let's close on a second time, or a third time, or a fourth time, or let's say, okay, great, that was great. Yeah. See you later.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We're friends.
Yeah.
So, sometimes friends is a good thing.
HITCHYYC is, at the end of the day, is you're going to do some lifestyle coaching. You're going to host these events.
Yeah.
And the matchmaking.
Yes.
Right. And I'm intrigued. You said you have a lot of hot friends
I have a lot of hot friends
that are single.
Look at my Instagram.
Right. You look at my Instagram.
But
right?
yes, a lot of, because
Okay.
this is what, so I also.
So why are they single? And I think
Okay.
I asked you this question. Yeah.
Yes.
Why are they single?
Because, and I hang out with, like, these are my close friends, right?
Yeah.
And so they are single because they're, again, there's this standard that they've set for themselves, and they know, because we've all been through like hell,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In our lives. But also, like, for me, I was also with my best friend, right?
Yeah.
Like, he was my best friend. He still is one of the, we just went on the tournament together, and I'm like, hey, can I come with you guys, so I don't have to drive? But it was one of those things where it's just like, it was he's still like kind of like my, not my person, but like, if I really at the end of the day had something, like some solid advice that I wanted, it might be him.
Well,
you know what I
that's
mean?
who I married. I married my best friend too.
Yeah.
Right. And
so but yeah, so a lot of people, but a lot of people haven't experienced that, right? And so but people who have, and like a lot of my good friends, they know what is good, and what they enjoy and what works for them. And in, I mean, I just had a conversation with a girl about North American men.
Okay.
She's from Africa.
Yeah.
And the men in, I'm gonna say Alberta because this is what I've experienced. But then even like I've dated a lot of guys from like Toronto, and like from, and there's a different vibe, right? I can sense that. But they all notice that the culture is what's lacking. So like even like that old fashioned gentleman, that's what a lot of women are looking for.
Yeah.
Is that chivalry? They want to feel pursued, like the old fashioned way of doing things. And society is like just twisting and kind of making our perception of even what we want not the healthy way to do it, right? So going back to your question, my friends, they want all of those things, but they're also not like, they're not expecting just some 6'2" ripped, like that's not all they want. Of course, a lot of them are like tall.
Yeah.
Like, what are you looking for? They're like, okay, well, tall, and right. And I'm just like, what else?
Yes.
But a lot of them are looking for like that old fashioned gentleman man, masculine man. And that's what is lacking. And time, like time, consistency, like confidence, like just, they want a secure man. They want someone who's got their shit together, like in life, right? Not even making, a ton of money, but just having their life together.
And what age demographic are your friends in?
Between like, so I've got a few younger, so like even like between like 30 is my youngest close friend, and then like 45, 48, right? Okay. So in between that, and there, like a lot of them have been like divorced, and like, or long-term relationships, or some haven't been in anything yet. Like I've got one friend, and it's like, but then when you've been dating for so long, you're kind of you're I don't know, you get all these experiences and all these things. You could be more picky.
You can be.
I guess I could kind of make that one of those things.
So is I guess, and I was doing a little bit of reading on, there's nowadays, especially after the pandemic, people are choosing to marry later in life, like in their 30s.
Right.
And those that have left relationships, they're choosing to be single more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So is it you're saying society, like these ladies that you're looking for, that are looking for these guys to, the masculine guy, the old fashioned way.
Right.
I think society's evolved, for our demographic already on dating. Right. So that, if they're looking for that, the old fashioned chivalry and all that stuff, like those are innate in all men.
Yes.
But the way that dating apps have made it, the casual dating apps, right? They've made it basically, they've gamified relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So and this becomes body count. It's about body count.
Right. And
what I find really interesting is when when I was in my 20s, the body count you wanted to keep low, and you wanted to find someone with a low body count in in your partner, right? In your chosen life partner.
Right.
Nowadays, you see the 20-year-olds. They are, they're both the ladies, and it's more ladies now, more the girls in their 20s. They're very proud of a very high body count.
Oh.
Yeah. So society has made it.
Right.
That it's the needs of your demographic of ladies are looking for something that is in a period past.
Totally.
Dating.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's evolved. Is it evolved the right way? I don't know.
No.
But for me, it hasn't. Right. And
for our
you,
demographic.
For our demographic,
No.
it hasn't. Right.
Yeah.
But because now they're like I said, they're choosing to be married in their 30s later on.
Yeah.
Right. But I'll probably find it interesting. We'll probably find that those and then also what I heard now in the dating is like basically if you were married in your 30s, those are the marriages that last.
Oh,
right?
Like taking longer.
Yeah.
One of my good close friends.
Yeah.
She's 30.
Yeah.
And she's I always tell her because she's lucky, right? Because she's hanging out with all these, these moms, like these experienced, you know what I mean? But we're all very confident. We're all very like we are self-aware. We've worked on ourselves, right? Yeah. So we're close. So I always give her advice. And also we've all kind of been with someone for a really long time and then divorced, right? Yeah. But had kids and all that kind of stuff. And so she's always like, I just want kids, right? And I'm like, don't worry. I'm like, right now you need to focus on work, because she's so smart, right? And that the intellectual part is like what brings her up into like hanging out with us 40-year-olds, right? Yeah. But now because she's taking her time, she's learning and she's hanging out with us, and she's also, taking whatever she's taking from our confidence and experience, she's taking that time to find the right partner that's right for her, that's actually right for her, not just like on paper or like, and so I remind her too, like it's because it's about connection. Yeah. And so many people they're just doing it because it kind of fits, it kind of works. But then that and so I look at myself too, and I'm like, well, why isn't anything working? And then I'm like, is it me, right? Yeah. But a lot of the time after I come out of these these little mini relationships, I look at myself, because I'll always look, and I love feedback, but no one always gives it, right? But I do look at myself.
Feedback. It was a waste of time.
Oh yeah, that was the meanest feedback.
Well, but like, I was like, okay, he needs some help on his. He needs help on his communication, Yeah. He can be honest, but you know what? You do something different, right? Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people are like, "No, you're great."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, I know," but like, also, why didn't it work, or what made it so that it wasn't like, yes?
Yeah.
Especially if I bring something up like this last one, it was like. It was like, we met organically. Yeah. We're seeing each other last year. We started seeing each other again, but I thought he had more time.
Yeah.
And then he knew what I wanted from last time. And then we started up again. I thought it was like, oh, he's ready now, right? And then I was annoyed because like there was a time, like it wasn't getting enough time, and I was getting frustrated. And then he wanted to be like, continue getting to know each other, being friends. And I'm like, well, no, I have feelings for you, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that just ended because I was like, no, that's not what I want from you.
Yeah.
And I thought about, I'm like, well, did I do that wrong? Like, should I have been friends with him? But I have a lot of friends, right? And so what I wanted from him was a relationship, right? And so he didn't like, fight for it, and just kind of like, okay, like accepted it. And so I look at those things and I would cry.
Take a sip of your water, or you're dark and stormy. You're dark and stormy,
They're both down here. I don't know what
we're allowed to swear. We're allowed to cry in here. It's okay.
I cry all the time. People are like, "Are you? It's okay." And I'm like, "No, I know." And that's like, so I'm healthy in that sense, right? So I do cry.
Yes. You got to feel the feels.
Oh, always, right?
Absolutely.
But
and I'll bring out the Dr. Phil voice.
Yeah, you don't have Kleenex. The other guys have Kleenex.
We'll ask our sponsor, CAX Podcast and Bar. We will need Kleenex here during Jason's podcast because I make them cry.
cry all the time. But it was
He's bringing a dish towel. Nice.
But yeah, no, so it was one of those things where I was just like, why aren't you fighting? Oh, why aren't you fighting for it? Right.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
And yeah, but then and maybe it's just, it doesn't align. Right. And because that can be, there can be these two great people and just the timing doesn't align or lifestyle or whatever. But then it's just like
square pegs can't fit into a round hole.
Yeah. But it's, being in the dating world, it hurts.
You have to accept that too.
100%.
Right. So
yeah. And that's why I kind of made the decision where I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
It's all or nothing. Especially like, because I have feelings for you and I'm not going to spend more time with you. And you can't and if he had said maybe he had feelings for me too, that may have changed things, but he didn't. So I was like, okay, well, what is this? What was this then?
Okay. Let me ask. I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to share my experience afterwards. Mm-hmm. So when was it that you said you had feelings for him? Like at what point in your relationship?
We were seeing each other last year.
Yeah.
I got frustrated. He was going through some stuff. He was going to school. He was finishing some stuff up. And then I got frustrated and he got overwhelmed. He's got a lot of kids, right? And so we just kind of ended things. Yeah. And then he came back, which I maybe I was wrong. That I saw it as a different way of coming back, right? Yeah. But we, you're intimate and all that kind of stuff, right? And it's like, and I was excited. And that's like, because I had gone on a few dates before he came back. Okay. And I was just like, they were so into me. But then I was just like this. You didn't want to be with them. Yeah. Exactly. They would like touch the small of my back, whatever. I'd be like, and I know. So my my one friend Lisa, she's like, I'm like, what am I? Like, what is? And she'll be like, no. She's just like, no, it's a no. It's a no. Just so you know, this based on all the things, right? It's a no. Yeah. So then when I was with him, I was like, I just felt like I felt like a girl, and I felt like I wanted to jump on him, right? What was the question?
When did
I tell him?
Yeah, when did you tell him you had feelings for him and you expected him to feel the same way?
Yeah, so when he came back.
Yeah.
So it was like we were seeing each other for another couple months. Yeah. And then we had a conversation. Okay. And he's like, well, what are you feeling? Because I was getting frustrated again. Yes. And then I'm like, well, I have feelings for you. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm in love with you, but I have feelings for you. And he's just like, well, like maybe we can be like no pressure and be friends. But then, and maybe the be friends is not the right thing to say to a girl who's got feelings for you. Yeah. Right. And so for the fact that he couldn't even say, yes, I also feel for you. Okay. Right. Yeah. It's like, it kind of hurts. You know what I mean? So at that point I'm like, no, I don't really have space for.
So he wasn't emotionally available.
Yeah.
Is that the term of it? Is that the term of
it? Common trend.
Yes. Yeah. No,
and so then I also look at myself in that sense too, where I'm like, why am I dating? Like, why am I meeting all these emotionally unavailable men? Yeah. Because those are the guys that I'm falling for. Yeah. And then I'm meeting all these emotionally available men that I'm not romantically, interested in. Yeah. And so a lot of women, I mean, it's the same thing. It's like we want what is not like in front of you too, right?
Yeah. You know what I'd find fun is we should bring in into this podcast. You bring two of your friends. Yeah. I'll bring two of my friends. Yeah. And let's figure out if these rules are the same. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, right? it was a thought for sure.
Like I was
a
long time. And because I was like, okay, well, let's because I am noticing that the rules are all over the place right now. Yeah. Right. So I think from a market perspective, market research perspective. Right. Oh gosh, I was like, I just brought that back because I used to be I'm in the aesthetic industry. Right. We used, when we said we're doing market research, we ended up at strip clubs. So. But,
interesting.
Yeah, but in any case, it's like that's where you found where people were using the services and such, right? So, right. In aesthetic services. Huh. But we're doing market research here for dating. Yeah. So your two friends will figure out what we want to do there, but it's going to be a market research survey, and that's what we're going to do our next podcast. Yeah. On, yeah. Right. Because it'll help, I think. The concept that you're bringing here, it's I'm very intrigued by it. you know, and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I personally don't have issues meeting people, but there's lots of guys that, you know, I communicate with and hang out with. I'm like, they're like, you know, why are you single? I'm like, I'm happy single.
Right.
Right. But
It's
if
that-
you guys want to go out and, you know, meet people, we'll meet people.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, and I'll be a wingman. I've always been a wingman. Like even when I was
That's
married,
fun.
for my friends, I was a wingman. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I was like,
oh, and I've always been like, oh, who can I set them up with? Right. Like,
yeah, exactly.
always,
Right.
Yeah.
But let's figure out the rules, because the rules have changed. Right. And
they have changed.
And I think, you know, it's specific demographics too. So I think it'll probably help with you designing, you know, kind of your, you know, your events.
Yeah.
Like your events again, are they age? Like, is it?
They've been anywhere from, you know, 28 to like 55.
Okay. All right.
So what I did at the last event, it was like a mixology class. So everybody made a drink, but they had a different partner who I pre-selected.
Okay.
And so then they would partner up with whoever, and they would make the drink, and then they would chat, and they would have the drink or whatever, and then they'd, you know, get another. So it was 3 drinks that were made.
Okay.
And it was just like, but it was good because people are, even adults, like as much as I can go and sit beside anyone and talk to them, people don't even know what to say, right? And like,
exactly.
And then something like that, it's like it's a lot of pressure, right? Yeah. So then they go and they're like, they don't know what to say. So me connecting them based on a vibe that I get, right? Like even when they, because I got to know some people that I didn't know at the beginning, and then my daughter, because my daughter helps me with this stuff.
Okay.
And so Kiara was just like, she's like, no, those two have to go together.
Yeah.
And so we kind of changed things, and I'm like on my spreadsheet, you know, like, but it's just like when I have an event, it's like a very well-oiled machine.
For the listeners, like your daughter's how old?
20. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I have a 12-year-old.
I was picturing, you know, my 14-year-old daughter.
Oh yeah. With this, so I get all of my advice from my 12-year-old.
Helping
son.
My baby mama's, you know, dating spreadsheet. I'm like, what the heck? Yeah. You're getting 14-year-old.
No, she's 20. She's grown up with me, and I've actually helped her, like, kind of, you know, see things in life in that dating world, right?
Yeah.
So she's with an amazing guy right now.
Okay.
And I'm kind of like, me. You know, but I'm so happy for it, and like just seeing
absolutely
them,
yes,
like, wow.
Yeah.
But I remember like a few years ago when I left my husband, I was like, okay, because she was really angry, like she'd been through a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was like, okay, well, you can take that and be angry and be mad at the world, or you can take my experience and yours and just be like, oh well, no, you can take my experience and be like, okay, well, that's not what I want for mine.
Yeah.
And change your course. And then from then on, it was just different. Yeah. So she took it. There's some things where I'm like, she's not talking back. And then she's just listening. Right. And so it's just like, those are the things that just get planted. Which I'm so proud of.
But was there a point she matured? She must have matured.
Oh, totally.
Somewhere along that. Yeah.
And just her standards. Like, I would even be like, whoa, what? I'd ask her for some things, right? And she'd be like, okay, just relax, right? Because she was bad, like she became like, it flipped, right? Yeah. And so I'm starting, and great, because I'm teaching her these things, and she's applying them in life. But so to a point where I was like going to her for some things, like, what should I do with this thing?
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, hey, neat. You know what? We've got just a few more moments left here.
Okay.
I wanted to say thank you to our sponsors, Kex Podcast and Bar. They make it so easy for us to do these podcasts.
Yeah, I love it.
Like, look at this.
It's great. It's comfortable.
So we're gonna bring 2 of your friends.
Okay.
And I'll bring 2 of my friends.
Okay.
We can all be friends. We'll do a podcast here.
Cool.
Right. And we'll figure out the rules of dating, and that'll be and that'll be our next podcast. Okay. So that we can expand a little bit more on your concept here.
Yes.
Because there is something to it.
I know
we just have to, to figure it out.
It's working. People are actually like, I sat back at my last event and I'm like, oh, there's actually like really good looking, like, and just even the good looking part, like just the crowd was like, it was good looking, and they're like great people, and they're funny, and there's something about them that's different. And it's not that way for a lot of other events that I go to. Just saying.
I hear you, and I've experienced that too. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
No, the aesthetics are everything. Well, like
Yeah, but people
anyways, that's
who
in me. Yeah,
are self-aware,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Anyways, Anna,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we'll we'll continue the discussion with in our next podcast
For sure.
and figure out the rules of dating for for us that are trying to
Yeah.
figure it out right now.
Yeah.
In the modern, what do we call it? I'm just a modern guy just trying to figure out modern dating.
Yeah.
You're just a modern girl trying to figure out modern dating.
Yeah.
Right? And
it's interesting.
We're going to help them.
It's a journey.
I think we're going to help them.
I'll do more research.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining me on TOX and TONICS.
Thank you.